study. Microplastics found in the testicles of every human and dog participant in the study.
And dog, damn.
So apparently,
I didn't know about the dogs.
So I don't know what they're doing. They're messing with dogs to get this samples. Man, leave the dogs alone.
Leave the dog balls alone, man.
Yeah, bring your dog's balls in, and we'll just we'll do it right there on the spot.
Okay, you know what? No, it actually makes sense. They have a lot of dog balls lying around at vets' offices because you go in and get them. Then now I get it. Like,
oh yeah.
They're literally readily available.
Poor doggies.
I don't know why it took me that long to Of course.
Bring your dog down. Bring a pair of scissors and a popsicle.
Thing is,
I bet
you they're all also in the dog uteruses because they also, that's how they spay the female dogs, is they just take everything out.
The sad part is that the microplastics, they go right after the endocrine system. So they go after the reproductive system first and your hormones. And they attach themselves there. And it just screws you all up. Which we'll probably talk more about that in this study here. Let's see what they say. A groundbreaking study has uncovered the alarming presence of microplastics in human and canine testicles, raising grave concerns about the potential impacts of male reproductive health. Researchers from the University of New Mexico conducted a comprehensive analysis of testicle tissue samples from 23 men and 47 dogs. So they rounded up quite a few dogs. 47 dogs. Why is it always that? Can't they do an even number? We can't find 50 dogs?
Maybe it's like the right-wing explanation is some kind of like numerical magic. They're like cutting off dog testicles for adrenochrome, and they need like crazy
47.
numerology. Yeah.
Well, 47 is what the Nazis did. The Nazis, did the 40s. No, I don't know. Shockingly, they discovered microplastics and particles in every single sample. Every single sample they took out of the 23 men and 47 dogs had microplastics in it. Highlighting the pervasive nature of the environmental pollutant. Yeah. The concentration of microplastics in human testicles was alarmingly high, averaging 329 micrograms per gram of tissue, nearly 3 times higher than the average 122 micrograms per gram found in dogs. Now, maybe they're these environmentalists. They say, okay, we'll get 47 dogs, we'll feed them a bunch of garbage, plastic garbage, and then it'll show that they have all this plastic, and then we can get I'm just trying to play the capitalist here, playing devil's advocate, if you will. Dude, I think sometimes that happens in science, but either way, I've seen so many studies on microplastics now that I'm pretty sure that it's not good. It's not a good thing.
Like, what even is the counter to this? Like, I want to know what the neoliberals are saying is that, like, we just don't have any proof, so let's just let it ride. It's like, they just don't want regulation. Like, the obvious thing would have been to ban plastic a long time ago, as soon as people found out that microplastics were getting in the blood. And I won't be surprised if in a few months or years we find out that plastic industry leaders knew that microplastics were getting into the bloodstreams of everyone and did nothing about it, of course, but it's par for the course.
Well, this is par for the course because the profit motive within capitalism says we can never, change course on something that's reaping an incredible amount of profit if it means that we have to implement changes that would cost us money in the supply line, that we're not gonna do that, and we'd rather fight you in court or put out PR stunts and stuff and advertising campaigns that try to convince you that actually microplastics either don't exist or totally fine, or that plastic bags, well, they want a paper bag. Paper bags are going to cost me and my family money. Just vote no on Proposition 242. It's like, bitch, fuck you. They're using stock footage and shit to try to get these people all sad. Long Defiant in the chat. The counter is that plastic does more good than harm. Lies, of course. Exactly. I mean, look, I think when it comes to microplastics, it's the food packaging and the small the small disposable stuff that dissipates and disintegrates in the air first. And what it does is it photodegradates. So in the sun, it can break down to almost a molecular level and go into anything. Not the greatest thing in the world, but other things like, your Tupperware, if you're going to use the Tupperware over and over, maybe you'll get some microplastic in it or something, but for the most part, there is stuff we need, like IV saline bags that they have at hospitals, or like, a pig, what do you call it? Like a valve for your heart or something, artificial valve. I get it. Plastic's good. Plastic is kind of cool and magical. It keeps things fresh, and I don't know, Mike, can you name other things that plastic is wonderful doing?
I mean, there's literally everything around us is made out of plastic, and it's one of the most convenient materials to work with for a lot of reasons, but
sure,
that this doesn't mean that it isn't carcinogenous, or it's a carcinogen. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
there's so many things that we use since what was deemed the chemical revolution, which is around the time of World War II or a little after, when scientists were first starting to figure out chemistry in like ways that were practical for industry and could be like mass produced, and it changed the world, obviously, but it meant that now you have products that are just made out of forever chemicals, pressed into a form, rather than something that was crafted by someone by hand. Sure, things got cheaper and more fast produced, and that was like a miracle for everybody. There was all those, just think of like the TV dinner attitude. Like the U.S. around that time, when people thought that like we were going to cure mortality in the next 20 to 30 years because of modern medicine, and that we were also going to have to only work 4 hours a week, if at all, because of automation. And then what happened? Like, capitalism reminded us that it's not about the gains of technology or industry or anything like that. It's about who controls those gains and who profits from them. And if it's not the workers, then any of your fantasies will not come true. You will be living in the hellscape where you have plastics in your balls instead of the Jetsons future that we wanted.
Is that part of the whole Star Trek future that we were planning on? That Elon Musk's, we're going to go to Mars and we're going to bring the plastic that's in our testicles with us, and it's going to be great. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's an often missed part of Star Trek lore is that Captain Picard's balls were pure plastic. Nobody knows this.
That's how that one dude went blind. He's wearing this thing. He can't see. It's because he too many microplastics.
Plastic guys.
Wolf, what's his name? Wolf 1. He's got the thing in the face.
Yeah,
that's microplastics up there. Yeah. I'm not a big Star Trek. I'm not a Trekkie, but I get it. I'm hip. I'm whatever. I look forward to your angry letters, Star Trek fans. Here are 10 scary statistics about the prevalence and potential impacts of microplastics. Are you ready? Number 1, humans may be inhaling up to 7,000 microplastic particles per day just from being indoors at home. 7,000! Can you believe that shit? Poor Picard, he says. Yeah, poor Picard. Number 2, a single takeaway coffee cup can release tens of thousands of microplastics and millions of nanoplastics into hot beverages.
Damn.
Ooh, so you're having your hot cup of coffee from Starbucks. Oh, it's so good. They probably got paper cups, but they got plastic lids sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I grew up in the 80s. Like, I definitely ate microplastic. Sometimes that was all that we had for dinner. Yeah. In the 80s, I'm like Yeomi Park, the defector from North Korea. I'm just lying out my ass. When I was a kid growing up in the 80s, we would eat fiberglass on the side with a big chunk of PFAS in the middle, and then a nice microplastic soup on top. Yeah. Number 3, microplastics and nanoplastics have been found in human organs like the placenta, the brain, and the testicles, as we know now, with the ability to enter cells. So it's entering our cellular. It can break down to the smallest thing. And I'm a half plastic, half man. Number 4, a potential link exists between microplastic exposure and brain illnesses like dementia. Well, It stands to reason. If it goes from your blood, then it's going to end up in your brain. Your little, your thinky computer that you need for talking and walking. Number 5, 97% of children between the ages of 3 and 17 in Germany were found to have microplastic debris in their bodies. Ooh, this doesn't get any easier to read. Number 6, microplastics have contaminated the entire food chain, being present in the human blood, breast milk, and the blood of animals like pigs and cows that humans consume. So even if you're one of these carnivore guys, it's like, well, I don't eat that shit because I'm not one of those vegan soy boy pussies. You're eating just as much microplastics as the rest of us. Jerk. You big jerk.
I love that the right is so concerned about like the trans agenda coming after their kids, but not the microplastics that are actually in them already. Like, the right doesn't care about this at all. This doesn't even like Or they have like totally unrealistic solutions. Like they want to go live in a homestead in the woods somewhere. It's like, bro, that's not going to save you from the microplastics. They're everywhere. They're in the air. Like you also have plastic in your homestead house. Like you're not fooling anybody.
Well, it's because that they would have to surrender to leftist ideology, which says we have to think about an actual solution and not just, it's way easier to hate a person. It's impossible for a stupid person to like hate a pollutant like a plastic or something. Like, they're not smart enough to like be mad at an inanimate object, I guess. I don't know. I am. I think it takes an enlightened individual to be able to say, I don't trust this stuff or whatever.
They'd have to be mad at business owners and rich white dudes instead of like some people with blue hair or like a woman with a beard or something. Like that's what they want to be mad at. So.
That's what it is. I think it's more personal that they already hated these people anyway. Young people that are different, people who are from urban environments rather than country or rural. It's always going to boil, like fucking political ideology really can just boil down to proximity, to location, like genetics. Like small town people are going to have conservative viewpoints, traditional.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm going to say, Chris?
Hit me up. One time.
Conservative views are linked to lower cognitive ability. And one of the studies that shows this is like they have low intergroup contact. It literally is if you don't leave your hometown, if you don't meet people that are unlike you, you have a conservative attitude because you are scared of people who are not like you. That's what it all boils down to. They're literally just cavemen with like id brain and they don't operate in logic. They're going by feelings. And that's what they accuse everyone else of doing because they are projecting. They're like low IQ, non-critical thinking individuals. They're subhumans.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry to say, and then they what they do is they twist the thing where they find that they say colleges are breeding grounds for liberals. They're spreading and indoctrinating liberal ideology into these college students to where they don't even know. As soon as they walk in the door, they chop off their dicks and they give them a copy of Che Guevara's autobiography. This kind of thing, right?
I mean, that'd be based.
It's like, no. But like, no, but...
Day one, dick chopping.
Yeah, I'm in. Let me in. But in reality, they say that there's a correlation between people that go to college and higher intelligence, believe it or not. Would you believe that?
I mean, it's crazy. Like the mental gymnastics you have to do to say that higher education is indoctrinating people into liberalism rather than... When people get more educated, they find that liberalism is the correct way to go, as opposed to like ruthless capitalism and individualism that is very obviously not working for anyone other than the rich people. It's certainly not working for the environment or for the majority of humanity. But no, it's a total conspiracy. Rather than the conspiracy is that the rich people keep you dumb and supporting capitalism that benefits them. No, sir, you totally figured it out, bro, with your meat. Like...
That would make it so they would have to do something about it, though, right? If they found out that rich people were out to get them, then they would have to be very uncomfortable, just like us, all the time. And they're just not committed to that.
No, it's only half
most of the that's most of the conservative viewpoint is like, I would agree with you, but I would have to change my whole life, and then I would have to walk around uncomfortable. No, it's trannies. I'm pretty sure it's trannies, and I won't accept another answer, you blue-haired libtards.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking about microplastics, I don't know why that doesn't matter to them. Like, it should. It should. And for some right-wing people, like these prepper types, they're like, I don't like black people and I like growing my own food. I'm like, okay, well, you're almost there. You're still just a little bit racist. But they care about this stuff. But
even more dire and apparent, like obvious to see and make the connections with was COVID. But the fact that the right was able to even deny that, and they're still able to do it, like they're still now saying all the deaths from COVID are due to the vaccine. It's like, you guys firmly have your heads in the sand and are going la 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 all the way down. And they're literally not understanding how COVID was just a natural disease that sprung up either from the US or China. We will probably never know. But its spread just was like any other virus. And it just happens to be a much more dangerous one that literally disables people, leads to dementia, like long-term organ damage, and increases the chance of that with every reinfection. And these people were sold the lie that led them into the eliminationist conspiracy that they were always paranoid about. Like they're so worried about white genocide or like any other paranoid fantasy they have about third world people coming to take their stuff and kill them. It's like your government and your businesses, your employers are literally doing that to you right now, and you are taking it. You're just taking it up the ass like good little cucks because you don't care. Like you're just that easily deluded that you would rather get COVID over and over again, kill your family and friends and loved ones, your grandparents and parents, rather than stand up to even your employer in the slightest way. And it's just such a cuck mentality, man. They're so deluded. So yeah, I mean, that's all to say. Microplastics are far from being a concern of the right. If they can't even like make the connection with the virus, it's very obvious.
Yeah, I think it's bizarre. I think it's bizarre because it's like the conspiracy theory that's absolutely fucking true because it's totally easily provable. I mean, we have these great,
you don't even have to trust Fauci or the CDC. You can trust other scientists, and they will tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Here's what I hate, too, is throwing out the baby with the bathwater with science. Like, I understand that there's a deep state, and I understand that there's a lot of distrust of the government, and the trust in the government has steadily been going down since 1970. And we're at this point where conservatives don't trust the government, leftists don't trust the government, but only one of us is truly, truly stupid beyond repair, and that's them. And I think some of them stumble onto new things all the time. You have Tucker Carlson almost saying the right thing half the time, and then but these politicians are just banking on the fact that there's distrust in the system. But you're almost there, guys. You're almost there. We're getting screwed. All you need to do is really dig deep and find out who's doing the screwing. Even these conservative guys are going to get mad about private equity buying up certain things. Like I posted what BlackRock does on the anarcho-capitalists. I mess with those guys all the time. I just go post stuff there to see what they'll say. And a lot of times they'll just run with it and they'll say, yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. I'm like, how would that be any different under anarcho-capitalism? This is exactly where it leads to what you guys love.
I already predict the trick. I know the mental trick they're doing there. They're going to just find where the government was involved and allowed the monopoly to exist and say that it was the fault of the government existing. That's what they always do. They just find whatever state involvement there was, because the whole thing is there has never been a free market. There has never been a stateless society at scale in the modern era. So all they have to do is point to the fact that the state exists in some way when you point to capitalism failing, and they say it's the fault of that. It's a perfect ruse, and it works very well for dumb people. Yeah.
And it does. It's going to work really well this election season, too. Just wait. All right. So going on about the microplastics, obviously, every time we do laundry, over 9 million microplastic fibers are released into waterways. And car tires alone shed an estimated 3 billion pounds of microplastics into the environment each year. So the potential link in declining male fertility. So this is the juicy topic, right? We're always talking about sperm rates going down. That's like in the Western world, 50%.
We're very worried about cum.
Yeah, we don't have enough cum. We're actually importing right now. We're importing buckets of cum every day, and it's costing taxpayers way too much. Cum subsidies are going through the roof. No, but seriously, we've had a 50% decrease in sperm rates in the Western world since 1970, according to researchers. So that's a big thing. So in canine samples, a concerning correlation emerged. Higher levels of PVC microplastics were associated with lower sperm counts and decreased testicle weight. While a direct causal link cannot be definitively established from this study alone, the findings strongly suggest that the microplastics may be negatively impacting male fertility. There you go. The researchers expressed surprise at the extensive penetration of the microplastics into the male reproductive system, given the tight blood tissue barrier surrounding these organs. So we have a rock solid wall around us. Like the walls, just the tightest scrotum. I mean, I've taken a hammer and a nail to it, and it just takes forever. It's like balsa wood.
Famously hard.
Yeah. The exact mechanisms by which microplastics are entering the testicles remain unclear, but one hypothesis suggests it may be hitchhiking through the gut via tiny fat particles. So you're eating it, you're ingesting it through the gut, and it's going down finding its way, hitchhiking through the lower intestines, finding its way inside of you. Sounds sexy. Give me some. Implications for male fertility. While preserved human testicle samples could not be assessed for the sperm count, the discovery of microplastics in these organs raises an alarming concern, particularly in light of the well-documented decline in sperm quality and quantities in men over recent decades. Like we said, more targeted research is urgently needed to establish a direct link between microplastic exposure and impacts of male fertility. Now, I always say, you don't hear Elon Musk talking about this.
Right.
You know, he is so worried about, we're underpopulated. We need more white people. We need more nice Christian, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people in America. Sperm rates are going down. He refuses to import people, immigrants and whatever. I'm not against immigrants. I think they're all right. You know, they can help. They can help you out when you need workforce or, you know, people to fill in gaps or whatever. They're nice people. They deserve a home. Nobody's illegal. We're all human beings. What the fuck? But you'd think that Elon Musk would care about something if he's so smart and he's so keen on the science. And it just makes me feel crazy. Like, here it is. Here's the scientists. Here's the people paid to do the work. And these conservatives, time after time, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because there's a deep state, and because I can't trust science no more. You know, that's the same with nutrition. A lot of doctors been advocating to eat, like, shitty food because food companies in a capitalist system have been pushing these shitty foods. And these redneck conservative types, they're right to say, I don't trust any of these institutions no more to tell me what's healthy and what's not. I understand that. But at the same time, if you throw out all of science and then just make up your own shit or go with influencers that are telling you to drink colloidal silver and put salmon up your ass as a way to... You're not doing anything differently. You're just making up your own shit. At the very least, stick with science. Understand that it's a mosaic of things. People like to do, they cherry pick the one study that says the thing that they want. They're like, this one says ice cream's good for me, so I just eat ice cream now. That's not how you're supposed to be doing things. It's a mosaic of everything that makes up a bigger picture. Each study is a little dot on a mosaic of things. You have to step back and see the whole fucking picture, people.
I do like to go onto like subreddits, or if I can find communities where scientists are talking about something. Like, if you start to research a topic like this, like, try to find where the scientists hang out and talk about this, if they talk about it online, and then see what they say. Like, usually medical professionals will be like writing articles about these kind of things. But I guess as it relates to this, it's like I'd be interested to see like what specific cancers are linked to plastic in general, not even specifically microplastics, because I imagine people would have known about like plastic cancers caused by like high doses of things like vinyl chloride. Speaking of things like the disaster in East Palatine, Ohio.
Yeah.
It's like, I would be interested to see what are the incidences of those specific cancers rising over the last few years, and what are the trends, because it's just another thing that I feel like people are not going to talk about enough. And it's like the meme to me. It's like, when you have all these conservatives and right-wingers fantasizing about their homestead paradise that they're going to create, it's like, my brother in Christ, you are going to die fighting in like a BRICS country or of a microplastics cancer. Like, you have no idea the world you're living in.
Yeah. You have no idea what you're in for. The guy I talked to with air pollution, he's like, you can't avoid air pollution. If you live in Antarctica or whatever, you just, you're fucked. There's no way to avoid. This is why environmental stuff it's important. It should be important to everybody. It's not even depressing. A political issue.
But yeah.
It's I think that's ultimately what it is. Why people don't want to address this shit is because it's just too much to deal with. But I will say, when there was a giant hole in the ozone layer in the 80s, and we had all the Freon and everything that was in all the air conditioning and refrigeration units and other things, I guess, there was a big panic. We said, oh, God, there's a hole in the ozone. What are we going to do? And we passed regulation, and we got it. It basically got patched up. The thing healed itself, blah, blah, blah. There's still more holes in the ozones around, but for the most part, we acted in time, and we were able to stop further degradation. Now, I don't know exactly what...
They banned CFCs. It was chlorofluorocarbons. I remember that from like my early 90s stuff and like environmental education. But like, they were able to successfully ban that one type of man-made forever chemical, and it worked. Like, it's an actual example. But then in other industries perked up on that, like, oh, we can't let that happen to us. Like, we will be out of a job. And they organized and they acted effectively, and that's why we live in the plastic chemical land.
Yeah. Government is the way out of most of these situations, because the corporation in its most primitive primal form cannot and will not address these problems. It can't. By the very laws of capitalism, it goes against it. It's total hypocrisy.
I mean, speaking of watching scientists talk about their industries, look on Twitter and look up any climate scientist talking about what they're observing in the last few years. It's like, that is regulatory capture. That in itself, like, that's the best example. It's like the entire industry and regulatory bodies that should have been stopping the oil companies have all been bought out, influenced in some kind of way. The science itself is muddied enough that your average person may not know whether climate change is real or feel that they could do anything about it, even if they believe it. And so it leads to that doomer attitude. But even among the scientists, like, climate scientists are very doomer lately. Like, they're not having a good time.
I used to have biologists and people on my show that do animal behavior or biology or stuff like that. Each and every one of them is pulling their hair out at the thought of losing the very thing that they went to school to learn how to protect and stuff. And I go insects and stuff. I had a worm lady and stuff. I had so many really awesome, cute, beautiful human beings, and they were just like, I'm devastated. This nice old lady who was like a raccoon expert, she did a study where she gave orangutans music, and I interviewed this lady, and she was like, they don't like music. They turned it off every time. Yeah. But
that's really funny.
But she was the same way. She was really cynical and bitter at the prospects of a future. Like, and that's disconcerting when old academic people who have been in you ask them about the ecology or the environment, they go, it's not good. It ain't looking pretty. So your question was, what cancers can microplastics potentially cause? So I looked it up. Colorectal cancer. Some researchers are exploring the possible connection between microplastics and early onset colorectal cancer, which is individuals under 50 years old. This increase in colorectal cancer incidence matches the timeline of increased microplastic pollution. So
no way.
You have this very newsworthy statistic about young people getting colon cancer more than ever before. A huge increase. I'm glad I'm an old fart. No, I mean, I can get
all
it
that
too at
gay
any
butt
time.
stuff, bro.
It's because they spend too long on TikTok.
Maybe if they stop being so gay, their butts would be fine.
Yeah. Maybe they should just shut up and go find a job. Or what do they think kids do? Oh, it's all that Minecraft they're doing. And the
you would think that,
Pokemon.
like, since the testicles having plastic in them made big news, you would think that, like, your butthole having cancer from plastic would also make just as big news. But this one's not making the headlines, right?
Right. Well, any study that comes out that talks to men in a way that's threatening their manliness, like
right.
They say eating 4 cabbages a day could make your penis fall off. This becomes like viral news, right? Everybody's like, I ain't ever eating another cabbage, bro. It's that easy, man. Really. Skin cancer. Studies on skin cancer cell lines have shown that microplastics can promote proliferation of skin cancer cells. The mechanism involves increasing mitochondrial reactive oxygen species changes. Okay, so changes your mitochondrial membrane. That's not good. General cancer risk. Microplastics may contribute to cancer risk through various mechanisms, including oxidative damage, DNA damage, changes in gene activity, inflammation and cell death, alterations in gut microbiome, and disruption of hormone metabolism. And also breast cancer, which that's been talked about, I think, a lot since even when I was a kid. They said, don't put your water bottles in the sun because women could get breast cancer. Mm-hmm. That's what my first alarmist moment was, learning about that.
How long ago did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Because that was even fairly recent for me.
honestly, it's probably in the early 2000s or in the late 90s, I heard that plastics kept in the sun could photodegrade and essentially might be a link in breast cancer. And this has been talked about for 20 years now.
Wow.
And inconclusive, a lot of long-term studies that to see the safety and efficacy of something, they're so expensive that only corporations can do them a lot of the time. And convenient. That sucks because we're trying to... Yeah, it's convenient. We need to find out the safety of something like Teflon pans, and the only people that could actually do the safety was 3M or whatever the companies that did it, and said, they're fine. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're fine.
What do you know?
Internal memo says otherwise, but okay.
Yeah.
And it takes us a long time. I was just telling you the other week because I switched from the Teflon pan. We had some Teflon pans. We threw them out, and mom got us a new one. My wife's mom got us a new one. It's a new thing. It's not Teflon because that's illegal, but it's a new chemical compound that allows for non-stick frying pans. Like, I looked it up. It's the same thing again. We have no idea. No idea. They changed it slightly.
They haven't found the regulation yet. The study hasn't been done yet, and so now we're like, I found the same thing. I threw out all my non-stick pans if I had any, and I went straight to cast iron for everything, and I never looked back. It's fine.
Yeah. Look, folks, you can cook without it. The other thing we were talking about is microwave. Like, there's not a big conspiracy with the microwave. It's just weird. That's all, right? It's just weird. What it does is it vibrates water molecules together and superheats your food, and it heats your food unevenly. You can't put bread in the fucking thing. It's just weird, and I don't think people should. And you know what's funny is I look up, I go, okay, so the microwave's completely safe. They go, yes, it's completely safe. And I go, okay, what about if the door's open? They go, oh, well, don't operate it with the door open. And I go, well, is there any problem at all? And they say, well, it has radioactive... It has radiation. It's a different type. It's not as heavy duty or whatever, but it still goes through you. And I go, well, that doesn't sound good. They say, well, just don't stand next to it. Is it safe or not? Yeah, it's
how
safe.
many questions I have to ask before I find out it's not really safe? Like,
it's not. Is it safe? It's safe, but just don't stand next to it. I love it.
I mostly don't use a microwave either anymore mostly because it just sucks. Like you said, it doesn't heat your food evenly. It's like really annoying. I'd rather just like put something in a pan for a couple minutes, put it on low heat, put a lid over it, and let it heat up that way than put it in a microwave where it's like I get a cold spot when I'm eating it, which is so fucking frustrating. I hate that shit. I love having a hot bowl and cold food. Go fuck yourself, microwaves. Like,
yeah. Whenever you want a fucking potato that's ice cold on the outside, piping hot.
A hot plate.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the frozen burritos. Yeah, they're like frozen in the middle and piping hot on the outside and burn your lips and shit. Not a good invention. And really, for me, symbolic of everything wrong with humanity. If we've got... No, we have this, like, we're going to nuke it with radiation and then it'll cook our soup just slightly faster.
They've been around for 70 years and they can't figure out these fucking microwaves to make them actually heat your food evenly and work with, like... Just, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Pitiful.
It's terrible. Now, they put in the disc that spins it that's supposed to help, right? My cousin disassembled a microwave once and tried to make a microwave gun in the yard when he was in high school.
How'd that go?
It didn't work, but he was all excited. He said, oh, bro, when we get done with this, we're going to be able to light a piece of plywood on fire from 500 yards. Dude. Oh, cool, man. That's going to be real neat. Yeah. This 4th of July is going to be really special, I guess.